Hello,
Hello,
Guido.
Gary.
How are you today?
Good.
Excellent.
Glad to be here.
Well, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. So we've had a little conversation. We know each other. We've been around town and whatnot. So you have a sense of what street epistemology is and what it is I'm trying to do using the Socratic method.
Could you say the definition of epistemology?
So epistemology is a branch of philosophy that is concerned with how we know what we know.
Right.
And sort of the reasons that we get there.
Okay.
Sort of thing. So,
Epistemology.
yeah. So, so I'd be interested in having a conversation about a belief that you hold particularly close. There is a saying that that beliefs inform actions, and actions have consequences. And so that's where I'm trying to look at where people have beliefs and how those beliefs interact in the world, and whether or not the reasons for having those beliefs are justified. So, is there something that you believe in that you'd like to talk about?
I think we were talking earlier about belief is a little bit strong of a word for
Okay.
me. Thread is more what I follow, and I follow these threads to see if they correlate and support other threads. I combine these threads through observations, and then I follow that vein as we go along. Mm-hmm. My beliefs have changed over the years, so I belief is a little bit strong of a word. I mean, when you're reading any sort of information, does it ever register as belief? I mean, you read something and you're just like, that resonates with me.
Right.
That sounds what I found from other stuff that I've read. Other information supports that. I'm going to follow that. We talked about beliefs being transparent, and you find that over time, this belief that you had earlier is now transparent upon closer examination. And you have to somehow use beliefs as a stepping stone for a foundation of what do I believe in and going forward, because they have consequences. You have to believe in something.
Right.
I believe that if I get in my truck and go from point A to point B, that I believe that I can make a rehearsal or something, So yeah, I do, but for higher functioning kind of thoughts, beliefs are somewhat have to be suspended, fairly to take in the information that you're digesting.
Okay. Well, maybe belief could be thought of as sort of a landing, so that you're following threads. It's kind of like going upstairs.
Fine, yeah.
You come to a landing, sort of a holding point.
Just to compare and contrast, you have to have a belief.
Right.
You can't just say, well, I don't know, I never knew, and we never will know.
Because you'll never do anything,
right?
Yeah,
because you'll never, you'll just stay stuck. So
right.
You do have to have some beliefs.
Yeah. So is there, can you think of a belief that you have that, at this point sort of informs, some aspect of your life? It could be a God belief. It could be a belief in reading the astrology thing in your morning newspaper. Or
one belief is I don't think that we're spinning at the speed of sound. The Earth is spinning at a speed of sound.
Okay.
So that's been an influential belief, and that's influenced my thinking. And it's something that I'm experiencing and observing, and it's fairly controversial. So it can sometimes knock loose the cobwebs and people's cognitive definitions. And so, that would be one belief.
Okay.
You also have lower level beliefs, like, I'm going to make it home after...
Well, sure,
point B. Yeah. But this one would be the higher functioning.
Sure.
Have we experienced... this is going way, way against people's
Okay. So just if you can put it in, just a couple of sentences, just to kind of firm up what you mean by that, like what what is the fundamental belief that you hold with respect to this?
That we're not spinning at a faster than the speed of sound.
Okay.
There's been experiments to prove that we're not. The Michelson-Morley experiment. You can look more into that if you're interested, and how they came up with that. And mainstream science is telling us that we're spinning faster than the speed of sound. Observations would be, are we? I mean, look outside, and it doesn't appear that we're going faster than the speed of sound. You've seen what planes do when they go faster than the speed of sound.
Right.
All sorts of, wind, also your face, stretching out.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that would be accompanied with going faster than the speed of sound.
Okay. So what would you say your confidence level in that belief is?
Oh, I'd say probably 80%.
80%?
I probably take observations about the natural world. My own observations and not what somebody in authority has told me to be more relevant for the truth.
Okay.
However, we both know through psychology that your perception of things can be misguided and not the truth.
Right.
And so based on that you have to have a little bit of wiggle room for,
okay.
Oops, I was wrong.
Right.
I experienced this, but in hindsight, I see that it was this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, but, that's a fairly controversial belief.
Okay.
That, can be challenged or talked about.
Sure. What do you think the impact of that is? Why do you hold the belief? Not so much how did you get there, but why is it important to you?
Why is it important to me? Because I think that it lets people know that there's a lot of untruth and fake news and false doctrine going on. Mm-hmm. And if you just take a step back and make a couple observations, maybe a little bit of research, that people have researched into this and found out that we're not spinning at the speed of sound, that it can be kind of, if you look at the implications, and I think you know what some of those implications are, can be fairly earth-shattering.
Right. So how do you differentiate between what you believe informs the idea that the Earth is spinning at the speed of sound and the information or evidence that you think supports that it isn't?
What do you want to know?
How do you differentiate between those two? Like how?
My observations tell me that we're not.
That we're not spinning at the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And is it because of the phase pushback thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all sorts of stuff. I mean, if you're in a jet traveling at the speed of sound, you can just imagine what those parameters are.
Sure.
Wind blowing on your face, pulling your face back, sound not catching up to you. Probably
mm-hmm.
Doesn't when they go with the speed of sound, isn't there a sonic burst, a loud noise that
a boom, yeah
pressure
boom. Wave,
yeah. So that's not happening, but that's because something is getting up to speed, and then all of a sudden once it hits, then that sonic boom happens. But
mm-hmm.
Hey, I mean there's all sorts of.
So do you believe that objects, man-made objects, can travel at or faster than the speed of sound? Man-made
objects, yeah, a jet does, doesn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm asking you.
I would assume that a jet does.
Okay. Now, a person, just for a thought experiment, a person standing at the back of a plane, traveling at the speed of sound, decides to move forward to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Is he traveling faster than the plane?
I don't do too well with this. Is he traveling faster than the plane? The plane's going at a predicted amount.
Right. So say a person can walk at 4 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And the speed of sound is 600 or something.
Yeah.
So the plane is going at 600 kilometers an hour.
And he's going 604?
And is he going 604?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, that's the thing about relative motion, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a impermeable barrier, which is the plane
The
chassis
plane
itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So based on that, there's a barrier there.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Interesting.
So there has to be a barrier there.
Right. So beyond the Earth's atmosphere, is it a vacuum?
Is it a vacuum? I don't know. I've never been there.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm wondering what do you see as impeding the possibility that the Earth is spinning at the speed of sound?
I'm sorry.
What's impeding it? What's holding it back
appears
from
to
being
be
able
stationary. That it's not
okay.
spinning. It appears to be stationary.
The Earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just through observation and scientific experiments, the Michelson-Morley and Aries failure.
I'm familiar.
Yeah,
with that.
you'd have to look into that and see if it resonates with you or not.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that the spacecraft that they send to outer space,
The ISS
is based on the idea that the Earth is spinning. So I'm
all
not sure how that
all sorts
reconciles,
of
but-
the trajectory, slingshot,
Yeah.
all sorts of when you see the spaceship take off, it curves like that.
Sure.
Instead of going off into space, it curves like that. And that's, based on the Earth spinning.
The idea that the Earth is spinning, and that's why the trajectory would look that way.
Yeah. So I'm told.
Okay, but you think it doesn't do that? You think the
I think
spaceship goes straight up?
stationary. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a spaceship should go straight up. Why does our observation show that it curves like that?
Well, think about this: is that if a spaceship went straight up and the Earth was turning, it would appear.
It'd appear, I know.
Yeah.
And you can also think of the analogy that when you put the coin into and it spins around. It was explained to me that when you put the coin in there and it spins around, then you put your 5 cents in for charity. Have you seen those? What's that? Circumnavigational force? No.
The Coriolis effect.
Because of Coriolis.
Coriolis. Yeah. Because it's opposite.
Yeah.
It's the way your water flushes down the toilet, right?
Right.
And on the other side of the Earth, it does it the other way, right?
Well, supposedly, yeah. There are those.
Well, I know people in Australia.
I know, but
Hey, flush your toilet. Tell me which direction it's going in.
What screw the scientific proof? Flush your toilet.
Right. So I'm curious that in this belief that you have right now, kind of where it's at. How does everyone else got it so wrong? Like, how come? How did they get there?
Well, I believe that most people are probably hypnotized. Was a hypnotist too. He gets you hypnotized, tells you information, and you believe it, right?
Okay.
That's what the shtick is, right? Well, right, with a hypnotist, he tells you your hand's on fire, He can tell you anything.
Right.
And you believe it. They're hypnotized.
Right.
So people through this TV and other forms of media are hypnotized by the information that they're told. And we've been told that this information is true, it's verified, it's peer reviewed, and that's fine. I'm okay with that until I find out that you're lying. Then it's not okay. Then I have to start rethinking everything.
Okay. So how would you find out that they're lying?
That's kind of a subtle thing. My journey started with 9/11 when 9/11 happened.
Okay.
And I'm an American, but you probably witnessed the same thing on the TV that I did.
Sure.
I believed what I saw. I found it a little bit hard to fathom. And upon closer inspection, I find that they were lying, and the scientific community went along with it, hook, line, and sinker, that they were lying.
So who was lying?
Who?
Yeah.
Well, basically our controllers that control all of our information, and the people controlling our society. They're hidden. I can't even name them. They go by 1,000 different names. We don't have the time in the day to to, it's unfortunate that I can't tell you who they are. It's
Right.
extremely unfortunate. It makes me, but that would cause like an hours long dissertation of who they are, and we're not here for that right now. But there are answers to who they are, and it's kind of something that you have to research yourself.
Right. So how did you find out
What the
that there
truth
are
was?
controllers and that?
How did I find out?
Yeah.
I describe myself as somebody who is spiritually immune to the lies and the indoctrination. And when I'm told one thing, I most likely don't believe it hook, line, and sinker. I follow these threads.
Okay.
So how did I find out?
Yeah.
Is that what your question is?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, how do you know?
How do I know?
That-
It's really a gut feeling. I would like to say
Okay.
it's more scientific than that, and I did a mathematical sequence to
Right,
come
right.
up with the answer. It's really just a intuition and a gut feeling, which is unfortunate because most people don't think that's very scientifically verifiable.
Right.
And it's unfortunately what I feel is the truth. Does it resonate with me personally?
Right.
Scientifically, hey, I would like to be as scientific as it can be, but that's like how scientific is it that there's a God? You can barely put this guy probably put science to it. So
Yeah, Richard Dawkins
Right.
is what you're referring to. Yeah. So intuition then is sort of what is
gut feeling,
informing you that
Following
what you think
threads.
is going on is in fact accurate.
intuition.
In contrast to what media has been telling us.
And I know that can be a controversial view because when I went to college, it was just like, we have consensus reality here. We have smart people that figured this out, and this is the way it is. And I'm saying, but it appears this way. Well, no, we figured this out, and that's the way it is. And so it's fairly controversial to say, hold on a second, I'm going to go with my observations here, and I'm not going to believe what the mainstream media says.
Right.
I'm under the impression that the Catholic Church and the Jesuits have been the gatekeepers of information, and based on that, which is fine if they're feeding you information that is true, and peer reviewed and thought through, but if I find out that they're lying, then I'm just like, I got to rethink this whole thing. And I think the Catholic Church, as you know, has probably been the gatekeepers of most of our information.
Yeah.
Yesterday, maybe not. 2,000 years ago, definitely.
Certainly.
They had people paying. They had regular people paying the Catholic Church to go to heaven. I mean, these guys got this figured out.
Oh yeah. Well, sure.
And,
yeah.
And do they still have it figured out? I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they're still the gatekeepers of our information.
Right. So is there any way to test your claims or to falsify them, say? Like, is there a reliable way where your confidence could go from 80% to 81?
Yeah.
Or 85, or
Yeah.
conversely the other way.
Yeah, like if you take the measurement of the curvature of the Earth, that's a measurement point A to point B. You could say it's 8 inches per mile squared. So NASA says that you're on a ball spinning a ball that is 25,000 miles in circumference, which would create a ball. And when they measure from point A to point B, they find out that it's not a ball. So mathematic, verifiable, and repeatable. All those factors are would be the definite proof that whatever they told us the circumference was appears to need a little bit of changing or.
Okay. My understanding is that the Earth is an oblate spheroid.
That's
so
right.
that it's
pear.
bulging
I know.
at the equator and a little compressed at the poles.
That's right.
So, is that in conflict with what you think? Or
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In what way?
Well, the observation of curvature
Oh,
would
okay.
be one of them.
Okay.
So people are. I've seen three YouTube videos that show that it is curving, and I've seen 300 YouTube videos that show that it isn't curving. So
Right.
there's my 80% for you.
Okay.
You know, I've,
Yeah.
I've seen 80% saying, and consider the source too. The source that said that it was curving was most likely Discovery, or
Mainstream media.
high,
which you
mainstream
don't,
media, which I don't trust.
Which you don't trust.
Yeah.
So is there? I mean, you've probably heard of confirmation bias.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any possibility that, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, that you could in fact?
Be susceptible to that?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. That's why.
So
that's why I say
is that
thread.
80% too? Is
Yeah, I'll
know what
put
I
that
mean?
into the 80%.
Okay.
That's why I follow these threads,
Right.
And then not a belief because of confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm,
You know, I want.
But isn't
I
a
want-
thread actually almost by definition a confirmation bias? Because if you're following a
Yes.
thread,
Yeah.
the things that you would tend to look for then
Yeah.
are just reinforcing
Exactly.
a position you've
Yeah,
already
which is
taken.
unfortunate.
Oh, okay.
I have to go through this experience as a human.
Hmm.
I would like to go through this experience with a verifiable mathematical scientist, black and white. Unfortunately, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Right,
I
right.
have to deal with being imperfect along the way.
Sure.
So
Is there because I mean certainly it would be in everyone's best interest to be able to know things that are true and to differentiate between those things that are not true.
yeah, I'm all for that. And
Like you may have heard of Matt Dillahunty.
no.
He's along the same lines as Sam Harris and whatnot.
yeah.
Very good debater. He's he does they do a talk show out of Austin, Texas called The Atheist Experience. But he's a very good thinker. And one of the things he came up with was I would like to believe as many things. I would like to believe as many true things and as few false things as
Oh
possible.
yeah, me too.
And that those things in tandem have to be together in order to get to a place where we are reliably sure of what we believe as
Yeah.
being the reality. So how do we get there? How do we get more confident?
I think that your real world observations, as opposed to what a person in authority has told you, would be a good place to start.
So, well, I mean, are there cases or circumstances in which a person who has spent a lot of time learning how to observe is better at a casual observer in observing a particular phenomena and making an accurate interpretation?
I
of
would
it?
say if somebody learned how to observe instead of being told what to observe and
Right.
how to think,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'd have a good start there.
Okay.
As opposed to somebody just willy-nilly walking in and saying, I see that it's whatever,
Right. Right.
So, but I think that some people in authority are telling us a lot of false stuff.
Okay.
So.
Is there? I mean, can you share with me why you think people are doing that?
Prison for your mind.
Okay, but to what end?
To what end?
Yeah, what's the object of imprisoning people in their
I think
minds?
that this world could be a lot more beneficial. The observation Plato's cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The allegory of the cave.
Allegory
Yeah, I'm
of the
familiar
cave
with that. Yeah.
is I think what's happening.
Okay.
And is this world that bad? No, I get to do what I want. I just ate a ham sandwich and my name's Guido, but could the world be better? Could we live without racism? Could we live without could we live in peace?
Mm-hmm.
Could we live to be healthier? Could we live to be longer? Is this ideologically speaking, or is that a reality that could be a reality if we weren't in prison for your mind?
Okay.
So I can't answer that because I can't take you to a place where people live longer and there's no racism, and I can't show you that.
Yeah.
I can only ideologically say that, hey, things may have been this way, and they could be this way again.
Right.
And that's why it's hard to get people out of the cave. People are comfortable in the cave and saying, "Hey, dude, this is reality. Okay, we're looking at the hand signs on the wall, you know, and this is what we perceive as reality." And like, but guys, let's go outside. You know, it's like there's fresh air out there. It's just like, no, I haven't seen no fresh air.
Right,
you know,
right.
We're in the cave.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
so,
really hard to.
Right. So, but I think maybe there's a subtle difference here, because you know, in the allegory of the cave, that person is almost willfully interpreting the shadows as real objects, right?
Yeah.
Being cast on the wall by the fire, right?
Yeah.
He's not being held there necessarily against his own free will.
Wow.
So, for instance...
It depends. It depends.
Okay, yeah. But
he could get up and walk out. That's the whole point of the story.
That is the whole point.
But he's mentally enslaved to his position there.
Okay. So, well, and I think that's an interesting point, because, you know, if there are controllers out there who are working hard to enslave...
Very hard. They're putting on a whole theatrical play.
Then how is it that you've been able to break free? Like,
I think that
is there a special
like
skill that you have?
I think some people are spiritually immune to it.
Oh, okay.
And they don't follow the indoctrination. You know,
I'm not sure what you mean by spiritually. But.
I don't either.
Oh, okay.
I'm grappling with this realization myself. Why do I look at things differently? Why do I believe different things? And you know, I'm just not buying most of the stuff that authority is telling us, hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
Most of it. In fact, anything that the mainstream media tells me, I go the opposite way for truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that?
In fact, that was a good gauge for me. It's just like whatever they're saying, I'm going this way. And a lot of times, whatever they were saying is just like, I don't know where to go, but I just had that thread that they're saying this narrative. We have to invade a country, Venezuela, for humanitarian reasons. Mm-hmm. Now I know, after how many years now, that maybe we're not invading for humanitarian reasons.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So whatever they say, I go the opposite. It may take a while.
Right.
You know. To know what the truth is. In hindsight, you look back and you're like, wait a second, they lied their ass off.
Sure.
You know, and they lied their ass off again. They're lying again. And so now you can see it coming. So it's just like, let me guess, you're lying, you know.
Right. But are there some things that would be less likely than to be lied about than other things?
Weather and sports. That's the only reason why they have the weather and sports. It snowed last night. Look, it was 5 degrees out there. See?
It's to build confidence in the false things that they're going to
snow tomorrow.
I got
you know?
Ah.
The Cavaliers, 5 points up over the Buccaneers, you know? Verifiable fact. Look at the scoreboard.
Right.
And then when they get to the subject matter of, you know, whatever the news anchor is saying besides sports and weather, you'd believe it hook, line, and sinker because you just saw the sports and weather.
I see.
And
where you're going
they
with
lump
this.
it all together.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but they're lying their ass off. And the sports and weather, well, weather's not too accurate, but you know, they play with us. Sports is about the only accurate thing on the news.
That's right. They sell you cereal by sticking a prize in the package.
That's right.
I gotcha.
That's what they're doing.
So, coming back then to this idea of controllers and that, you know, we're being brainwashed. What is the object of the controllers to control?
The object.
What is the purpose? What is the point? And if it's such a powerful point, how is it that they allow, people like yourself to break out of that and run loose? Informing the rest of us that get out of the cave, you guys.
Don't worry about it. I'm ostracized. People think I'm an idiot, and rarely are people going to gather around me and go, "This guy's got it going on." I'll be ostracized. People who, if you want to get on YouTube and attack me, go ahead.
No, nobody's going to do that. It's all about respectful communication. Is what it's about, right?
But
there's lots of people who would see this and look at you and say, "Oh, what guy's freaking crazy."
Yeah.
But then they open up the newspaper next morning and read their Virgo horoscope, and guide their day by it. So
That's I know.
You know what I mean?
So
like
who's
we
judging?
all,
Yeah.
and the thing is, and this is demonstrable out there, is that often the beliefs that we have we don't see as quirky. That's human nature, right?
I think
project
my beliefs
onto
are
other
pretty
people.
quirky.
Well, whatever.
I
whatever
understand
that
where
might
you're
be.
going with that. So
Yeah,
your
yeah.
question was, what is the objective of controlling us?
Yeah.
This is a thread that I'm following.
Okay.
This is not. This is barely a belief, because I haven't observed it firsthand. It's intangible.
Okay.
If I could grab it and touch it and manipulate it, it would be tangible.
Uh-huh.
But this is intangible, so I have to go with a thread.
Okay.
And we're being harvested on the human farm. Whatever. Some people say loosh is our energy that these entities feed on.
Okay.
If we were truly free, we could explore Antarctica. If we were truly free, we could not maybe be debt slaves. If we were truly free, we wouldn't be able to have a fiat money system.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and on with how things could be different. And hell, we could be naked running around the forest eating food and playing music all day long. Is that such a bad thing?
Right.
So it's a weird reality. I understand that. And it's not what we've been indoctrinated with.
Mm-hmm.
We've been indoctrinated with, you have to go to a job, you have to get shelter for your fear, you
Mm-hmm.
have to feed your fears, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
and that's that. Like I said, that's a very intangible thread that I just threw out there. That we're on a human farm and we're being harvested. When was the last time you saw a human go through a combine machine and come out the other end? Never. Okay, it's a very,
I'm not. I didn't follow that.
You didn't follow that. It's intangible. This human farm that I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
And being harvested.
So how would you go about determining whether what you believe about a human farm is actually true?
How would I go about determining that?
Yeah.
By comparing different threads with what different people say, mostly on YouTube or on the internet. Thinkers, Michael
Right.
Tessarian, Jason Christoff.
But how do
Max
you
Egan.
determine what these individuals?
Know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
How intuition and gut feeling. I wish it was more scientific than that.
Right.
I wish I could say it was black and white. It's not. I'm just following what resonates with me.
Right.
Unfortunately, what else can humans do?
Well,
Unless what you can do is probably follow authority and go to school, have them tell you what to think, and then you'll be confident. Okay. In my world, you're not so confident. You're grasping at straws. If you go to school, they say, well, this and this and this is the way it is, and we figured this out, and now we know, and now you know, because you can repeat after what I told you. But in my world, it's just like, I don't know. I'm following this thread. I follow some of the information that I follow may be wrong, may waste my time. That there's in school there's like a definite border for when you're doing your own critical thinking. There's not.
well,
You have to follow your intuition, right?
Yeah.
That's why you picked up this book, because you have an intuition that it is a thread that you're following. Nobody in school told you to read this, or unless maybe you're Sam Harris and other people, they follow this thread, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thread I'm following.
They support
I have
what
an
Dawkins
interest.
says. Yeah, you have an interest.
Yeah.
There's nothing black and white that says this is the truth.
No, of course not.
Okay, so you have an intuition as well.
Yeah, but information in there,
Is supported by
testing,
by testing. Yeah.
testing,
Yeah.
through science and
Yeah,
whatnot.
and I would like to say that the information that I follow is supported by testing as well.
Okay.
You have to.
Can you confirm that?
I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this is
But
you were
the
talking
thing
about
is,
the Michael
the thing is
Morley.
with my information is different than yours. I'm assuming about you.
Okay.
Most people. If you take the surface layer mainstream media narrative, I saw it on TV, so it must be true. Fine. Well, with when I come across and say, hold on a second, it's different. It's actually this. Polio wasn't created by a virus. It was actually created by them spraying the fields with DDT. You know, you're looking at me like, what the hell?
I'm not. Am I?
Well, have you ever heard that?
No.
Yeah, see, so I have, and I've looked into it. So with my information, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to scratch through the surface layers and get to what I'm talking about because you've never heard of that.
Right.
So my information and beliefs are not so readily defended. You have to educate yourself to get to my belief.
Mm-hmm.
Your other people's beliefs, I make an assumption with you, I apologize. Let's just say the regular person that believes what they see on TV.
Yeah.
I see that perspective too.
Yeah.
I know that perspective.
Yeah.
I reject that perspective.
Yeah.
But they don't know. They have no idea about my perspective because they never looked into what I looked into.
Right.
And
Well,
my perspective is not on TV. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could say that I don't watch a lot of TV myself
Okay.
because
All right.
especially
I'm sure
in the news, and I'll tell you why, is because a lot of people who report the news don't understand the finer points,
of course,
on what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
it could be easy in some instances to get it wrong
and be manipulated. Perception management.
Well, but maybe not even purposeful. Like maybe it's just because they don't understand science well enough to explain the concepts of science that they're reporting on.
Yeah, I know.
You know
But
what I'm saying?
shouldn't an investigative reporter know that stuff?
No, yeah. I mean, but that's immaterial to the fact that
it is.
that is
Not what's
certainly
happening.
sometimes the outcome, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily make the underlying concept, which they are not well able to articulate, it doesn't make it untrue.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's where, so take media out of it, because we could just say it really doesn't necessarily even have to be an accurate representation of what the real world is. But how do we get to the real world? How do we figure that out aside from following people's threads?
Your own observation.
Yeah.
That's how you figure that out. What you observe to be true. We don't appear to be spinning, the sun doesn't appear to be huge. The sun and the moon appear to be the same size.
Optic.
All sorts of optic mainly.
Right.
Yeah. All sorts of observations. What does water do? It seeks its own level. Does water curve? Is there bendy water? You've never seen that. You've never seen gravity. You think that this is gravity, and that's fine. I'm not gonna.
Well, how would you define gravity?
Density and buoyancy.
Density and buoyancy.
Yeah, this is heavier than air. That's why it fell.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know.
Yeah. I've heard it also interpreted as the distortion caused by massive objects in the continuum of space and time.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Right.
And I've also heard that there's a electromagnetic component. It's a thread that I haven't really figured out yet.
I'm no scientist.
Me neither.
Of course.
Well,
but
are you though? I mean, how hard is it to be a scientist? I mean, it's like observation, repeatable. What is the scientific method? Go over it with me. Should we look it up here?
Well,
that's something that you can do.
It's hypothesis, right?
Hypothesis.
Designing an experiment.
You've had a hypothesis.
Performing an experiment, testing it,
Okay.
checking the results, seeing if
Repeatable.
if that supports the hypothesis.
Yeah.
Or what
So
you
why
need to
are you
change.
not a scientist?
Well, I guess a scientist is someone that does this
I know.
professionally.
I know.
And that is their life.
I know, but
I mean, I suppose we're
but
all
you still
scientists in our own
But
way.
look at it as music, Like, you don't get paid as a professional musician, but you still have the elements: pitch, melody, harmony, rhythm.
Sure.
You know. So why does a scientist have the definite distinction that
Well, I suppose part of it is access to resources.
yeah, and
So-
who's paying for those resources?
Well,
Bada boom, bada bing, Guido got ya.
I don't know about that. Anyway,
well, I mean, it's true.
we're coming up on an hour, but
Okay.
I'd love to continue this conversation and give me a little time to reflect on what what we talked about, and yourself as well. Once I get it up on YouTube, maybe even to refine sort of what direction this conversation could take at the next time that we talk about it, because I'm infinitely interested in sort of different perspectives, and like I say, my object is to gain greater confidence in the methods by which I come to learn what is true.
Me too.
And how to discern what is not true.
Yeah, me too.
So
because
I think having conversations like this is really, because it's not like passerbys often have conversations like this.
Yeah,
or even sitting over beers or whatever. It's not like people tend to talk the small talk.
Yeah.
This is a purposeful interaction about what we actually think is true.
I have the same desire. I want to know what the truth is. I want to have the same desire of the distinction between all the false narratives out there and what the truth is.
Right.
It'd be easy if I could just say lie, truth, but I can't.
So and it's about actually maybe developing a reliable method by which to
that's true.
Gauge whether something is true or not true.
And I think your intuition and gut feeling could be one of your most helpful tools to do that.
Yeah.
Because intellectually you can be steered however, but your gut feeling about stuff is something that you should maybe trust.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that would be even something worth exploring. Our next conversation is what do we mean by gut and intuition? Because
what resonates with you?
Well, I think that's a valid subject in itself, right? Like when you talk about resonating.
Yeah.
Music. Resonating with what? You know what I mean?
Like when you hear good music, it resonates with you. You don't need to intellectually go, but When you hear bad music, you don't need to intellectualize it.
Well, it depends. That could depend, right?
It could, because
consider somebody in India, who are raised in the cultural milieu.
That's right.
Where that stuff, which I cannot stand. And they love it. They can't get enough of it.
Oh my God!
And likewise, they may come over here and say, "What is that cacophonic racket you guys are listening to?"
And ignorance at the very start of hearing some sort of music, like opera. I don't like opera, but if somebody were to educate me, hey, this song is about this. They were intending this. And the outcome was this, I might have more of an appreciation. Right.
So I guess that right there opens it up is it a value judgment? Is it just a personal inclination?
Yeah.
But is truth a basis, is a reliable method to determine truth based on intuition, when intuition can be affected by the geography.
Exactly. It's unfortunate.
Right.
I agree with you. I would like it to be more black and white, but that's all I have.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
And
that's
maybe
all any of us have.
But maybe there's a way to figure out.
Until an authority comes up and says, no, this is what it is. And I'm fine with that until they start lying.
Right.
And I'm just like, wait a second, I got to rethink this.
Yeah.
And what is my intuition? That's all I have.
Right.
And you and everybody. You only have intuition.
Right. Well, I think there's more to it than that.
There is. I'm
anyway,
I went to school for psychology, and psychology was all about intellectualizing stuff, and it kind of left me flat. And then after going to school for psychology, then I just started playing in a band with music and following my gut feeling. I gave the intellectual world a try. I did pretty well. I got good grades. So I was able to repeat what they told me. Right? Memorize and repeat.
Right.
But then, gut feeling was something that I was more, because, psychology was telling me that the mind is infallible. We don't know this, we don't know that. It could be because of this, but it could be because of that. And cognitive, ability, all that. And so, that's about as far as you can take that. You know, intellectualizing something.
Right.
I've had this conversation with other people before. They don't take kindly that you can't intellectualize everything. Like Jimi Hendrix. Can you play like Jimi Hendrix by intellectualizing it? No. Can you play like John Coltrane there are actually college courses how to play like Coltrane. Mm-hmm. But are you going to sound like him? No. You have to have emotion, you have to have gut feeling, you have to have, you know, the human experience.
Right.
That there's no amount of intellectualizing how Hendrix played to get there. Although some people get close.
But there are realms within which the intellect is more suited, and
definitely
the emotions are
not as
right.
Yeah.
As suited.
But the stuff that I'm
And vice
interested
versa.
in, emotions play a part in it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because some people don't think you're very intelligent because of that.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, possibly it may be a misallocation. Who knows, right?
That's what I think. Yeah.
But again, what it comes down to is how do we discover and develop the reliable methods by which we can then look out in the world and say.
And I think your real world observations are the answer to that.
Right.
And that's only because what I've found out that authority has lied to us. You know, when they tell you that I forget the figures now, 300-story building on 9/11 collapsed in 8 seconds in free fall. You know, but what I see observed is that there's no resistance and that it's actually crumbling from underneath like a controlled demolition would do. That's where real-world observation trumps what the authority has been telling us.
Yeah, but
All sorts
I
of
think
examples.
You did, yeah, but I think you did mention that. I mean, you know, there can be things that affect your ability to correctly interpret
and you have to
things.
be open to that. And
Right,
you have
right.
to have hopefully a little bit of humility that when you're wrong, that you're
open
your
to
observation.
changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget that psychology has all sorts of examples where you thought this, but it's really that. You know, and I can't think of what those are right now.
Right.
But yeah, there are definitely examples. But the authority has been playing that card way too much for.
Well, you know, and it's certainly been the case, as you say, with the Catholic Church, that they did exert an incredible amount of
the intellectual gatekeepers. Everything you know has been filtered through them.
Yeah.
They were in power yesterday. They are in power now, and probably be in power tomorrow. You know, at one point, did they give it up and say, "Listen, we're going to let science take over because it just makes more sense"? You know, I don't think so. I think they just lied about it and went underground. They like to have you think that science took over, but they're still pulling the drawstrings. I think in the research that I've done, the Jesuits and the Catholic Church.
Right.
So.
Cool. Well, I think we'll stop it there for now.
And we're gonna shake hands. There's no divide and conquer going here.
No, absolutely not. Of course not.
This divide and conquer thing is getting way out of control.
Absolutely.
It's like I don't want to be any part of that. That's why it's kind of like you asked me what my beliefs are. The first thing you step in the puddle of mud of I divide. What did I just do today? I divided myself. I said, listen, I'm not a part of that, you know. And it's unfortunate that we have to use divide and conquer because that is like the only tool in the toolbox that the media is using on us. Every story is divide and conquer. It's so important for them to get us divided. It's just like, you know, if there's one thing that we could do to change, it would be do whatever we can not to be divided.